Welcome to Tokyo College YouTube channel. This is a series of dialogue between UT7 and Tokyo College members. My name is Cintia KOZONOI VEZZANI. I'm a postdoctoral fellow here at Tokyo College, working on the intersection between literature and neurosciences. And it is my pleasure to welcome Yukiko GOTOH sensei today to talk to us. So before we begin, I would like just to talk a little bit more about my own project here at Tokyo College. So I am investigating my hypothesis. If reading classic literature can help us exercise our brains so that we can have more attention when conducting deep work. And I'm very happy to do this here at Tokyo College because it is an institution that valorizes interdisciplinary work.
Yes.
So I would like to ask you if possible, to share a little bit more about your own research. And I would like also to congratulate you and your team for what I read. You have amazing breakthroughs to share with us. So if you don't mind sharing a little bit.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. It's our pleasure.
Yeah, so I'm also working in the field of neuroscience, and especially focusing on how the brain is made, during development, and like working on how the fate of neural stem cells, which is the root of the whole brain, is regulated during development. And I'm especially interested in the cell-to-cell communications. We are made of cells, but they are all from the single, fertilized egg. That's the one cell.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and they somehow communicate and made this, fantastic, organism. How can, they can do it? It's really, mystery. And I'm interested in the molecular, more, detailed, features of how they communicate, and interested in, for example, the cells can decide whether they proliferate or whether they undergo cell death or to migrate to the certain position, or they can differentiate into certain cell fate, like the muscles or neurons or whatever, and they can be all regulated by the genes, the DNA component within the nucleus. It's amazing. For example, the growth factors they released from certain cells can, instruct the certain cell to proliferate or not. And if this can, there's a miscommunication, they can, grow cancers, for example.
Yes.
So the cell, this kind of regulation should be very precise. And so so actually we discovered ages ago, how, this growth factors at the cell surface, this signal, proliferating signals transmit into the nucleus to instruct the cell proliferation. And we discovered the molecules that mediate the signal transduction.
Wow.
So and if these molecules they can become super active, they grow cancers.
Yes.
So this kind of discovery is not just contribute to our understanding of our body, but also this can be applicable to the medical purposes.
Definitely.
And and this is very the broad kind of the field in life science, but also in terms of the brain development, neural stem cells are really fascinating because it can produce so many cell types within the brain. The neurons are not just a simple neuron, but they have like hundreds of the types of neurons. So they are somehow really finely structures and communicate to each other. And we can work like this. This is the supercomputer within your brain.
Oh, I have goosebumps. It's just so beautiful.
Yeah. And then our work, our brain works like at the very low energy very, energy effective.
Wow.
Like the supercomputer, you have to freeze them, like keep them,
Yes.
At a very low temperature to reduce the noise of the, Brownian, movement. But here, even at the room temperature, with lots of noise, still, your brain can perform this, it's super, high function.
Yes.
This is, big mystery, and we really want to know, how this works, at the, the molecular level.
Wow.
And the systemic level.
I feel so fortunate, so thankful that those following the YouTube channel can listen to this right now, because how grateful it should be to have someone like you who's thinking about exactly all those mysteries that allows us to function. And to think about the potential that our body, each little cell has to fulfill.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for the work that you and your team have been doing. It's just fascinating for someone outside of your field.
Yeah.
And I can see how much enthusiasm you have, and your eyes are shining right now when talking about your work. And thank you for explaining in a very clear way. So I would like to go to the past and ask, when did you decide you wanted to follow this career? When did you realize, I want to become a scientist?
A scientist?
Yes.
Actually, I didn't mean to become a scientist at the beginning.
Hi. Usually it's like this.
I actually wanted to go into like the field of finance or whatever, like consulting or the kind of thing. But I thought that when I was an undergrad student, it would be nicer to have some unique background like science. And I went in, I joined the laboratory to start experiments. And I was fascinated, to see, how, the beauty of science and also the beauty of scientific procedures.
Yes, yes.
And if you have some, hypothesis, like, hypothesis A, B, C, and if you do, like proper experiments to distinguish, these hypotheses, and you can find the answer, B, is the correct one. And this is the first discovery in the world. And isn't it great?
It is.
You discover something very new in the world, in the history.
Yes.
And and then you can communicate, in the field, to the people in the world that this is the answer.
Wow.
Isn't that great?
It is. It's empowering, and it's very exciting, right? To be able to unveil what is there, but you haven't been able to really decipher beforehand.
Yeah, exactly. So you can share the excitement of discovery and with the world.
So at this beginning stage where you were at the lab, and then you realized that you had this possibility of going through experiments. So did you receive also very like mentorship? Like, how were the questions being raised? Were you part of a longer project and then you joined it, or you were the one who really had this question and said, I really want to find out? How was the process?
Yeah, I wasn't that smart. I started with the very tiny question that was given by my supervisor.
Yes.
But during the course of the experiments and discoveries, finding something new, and you find some new questions and new more interesting questions, and this is like climbing up the mountain.
Yes.
And you find that you are trying to reach the peak. What do you say? The top?
Yeah, the top of the mountain.
The top of the mountain. And you find that some sideways that might go to the higher mountain, and this kind of thing. That so you find the new questions that might be more fundamental and more interesting, and that kind of way. So that's the way how the research,
the trajectory.
Works.
Yes. No, that is lovely to hear, because it shows when you say little questions, I think it is a reminder to be humble. I think we know so little, and I think reminding ourselves of how much we don't know in this
really
vast
true.
universe, I think it's a good point.
Yes.
And then the flexibility. You realize, oh, I thought I was going this way, but no, maybe there's something else. And this is what it means to learn.
Yes.
You learn about yourself, about the universe, about the questions themselves.
Yes.
So I once again congratulate you and your team for being able to really create this path and now share with so many others about your discovery. So it's very, very special.
Yeah.
And how
you're absolutely right. I really agree with your your view. That's that your mountain or your expected answer may be wrong.
Yes.
So you have to be flexible and humble.
Yes.
And that's the way how you get to the higher the mountains. And that's really true. I totally agree with you. Sorry.
No, please. I'm enjoying this dialogue because it creates many more questions, right? For example, I think on the one hand, I wanted to learn more about how your participation at the UT7, your contributions or your goals as part of this new initiative. And I really want to hear about this. And I just wanted to make a small remark about the position of humbleness. I was thinking about my own field of literature because you're mentioning how we communicate. We're using some kind of language, and then you're going into the microcosmic world to make sure we see how the cells are talking to each other. Yeah. And the world of literature is communication, but communication through time. Right. So how fascinating it is to go to the ancient texts and see that those messages are still relevant to us today. And that also positions ourselves, as I said, in a more humble situation because we belong to something much larger than we think that's our daily lives. And for what I understood of the project of UT7 is really about bringing attention to the concept of life, to the big questions and to this spirit of curiosity. So I would like to hear a little bit more about your role as part of this new initiative.
That's the point I'm not pretty sure about. Because this initiative is too new, to understand, and I think that's the point. This UT7 initiatives should be, new, and we are now trying to search for the direction. It's not like a certain goal, but it's we are exploring the goals, and I'm trying to find my how I can participate in it.
Yes.
I'm not sure right now, but I will probably figure out in the course of
If I may say, I think your own example is already the participation. I think showing your enthusiasm is one way of bringing inspiration.
Yeah.
Because
I hope.
yes, I think it is a reminder of why are we doing sciences? Why are we doing research? Why are we really asking the questions and delving deep?
Yeah.
It's not an easy process. It requires a lot of concentration, a lot of effort, and as you said, there's the risk of failure. I won't hide that in my case, I am very fascinated by interdisciplinarity. So I don't have a background in neurosciences like you do, but I really want to understand the brain and see how can we work together from this perspective of using books as a way to exercise the brain. So I imagine that UT7 could be this kind of space where they would be open for the risk. We don't know, it's just a hypothesis. And as you said, it has many different possibilities, but it's something that I'm looking forward to. And continuing about the future, do you have any image of how you see your discipline in 100 years from now? So very far in the future.
The researchers in life sciences are now using the data from our own experiments. But I think the database will become more global, more common, and shared by all the researchers in the world. And I think it will become more common to use this database, not without doing your own experiments, but just to incorporate the data from all over the world to test your own hypothesis without doing actual experiments. And also the other thing is that the experiments are now are done by humans, but I think that robots will take part. like they're doing the actual experiments. The robots can work very hard and also very accurate and can do dangerous experiments as well.
Yes.
So they can generate the data, and these kind of data can be ordered by anywhere else in the world. Wow. And that kind of connection will change the research of life sciences as well.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
and I'm sorry.
Yeah, and also I think that now the people in life sciences kind of reductionist way of they're doing research, but I think they will have to think about the more holistic way of thinking, to not just take
pieces apart.
But also to
be able to connect
these things to understand some the real organism.
And talking about connection, and now going to a different level, you mentioned how important it is to have this database available to the world. Do you have any comments about the importance of sciences in relationship to other countries, or how Japan positions itself, and perhaps researchers having to go abroad? Do you have anything to say about this?
Yes, that's a very important way of thinking about the science. Science should be universal. Science should be shared by anybody. But now I think that the nationalism goes into this and makes the division between sciences in a scientific field as well. But that's really sad, and the way of scientific communications, we definitely need the international framework between nations.
Yes.
And now, nations are divided by the nationalism. And I think, we scientists have to find a way, to connect each other, and that will probably facilitate the international interactions. And that may be one of the responsibilities for us, I think.
No, that's very important. Again, not a very easy task, but perhaps through UT7, you can invite collaborators. I saw that part of your concept is to really become a model of inspiration and create all the equivalents of UT7 initiatives throughout Japan. But maybe, and I don't only say maybe, but I hope, and I think it's necessary to plant the seeds of all the initiatives that could all be interrelated afterwards. As for what I understand, this UT7 really wants to bring attention to the questions, to the curiosity, to the joy of learning, which is again very in line with Tokyo College. So I feel very, very fortunate.
I thought the same. The Tokyo College has the same goal.
So it's it's good that we are creating this dialogue because it shows that that's what we need. And fortunately, Tokyo College does invite scholars from outside Japan because it is through this exchange of ideas, of histories and experiences that we do build knowledge in a broader sense. So I think that UT7 will be the right place to also do this as an inspiration. And also to incentivize perhaps the newer generation to also travel, seeking exchange programs to have the experience of being outside. That helps also to consolidate. And now I was wondering, do you have any concept or idea that is important for you, but it came from a different discipline? Because you mentioned in the beginning you were thinking about going through like economics, and in the dialogues that I read, you talk about society as a metaphor to talk about language, about the cells. And I was curious if maybe you have come across a different discipline when working on your own field, or is it something that you really hope it will happen in the future with this initiative of bringing different professors from different fields and perhaps creating more dialogues in an interdisciplinary way? I was just curious if there was something that already happened in your field or something you're looking forward in the future.
That's a very good question. I actually didn't think about it, but especially in neuroscience, so you're working on the cognitive neuroscience,
Yes.
so you're familiar with this field, but the developmental disorders, like during the very young age, like we call it critical period. If the kids undergo like the stress and conditions such as social isolations or the abuse, so they will have the more tendency to have the psychiatric diseases in their later life. So we really want to understand the basis of the cellular or molecular or circuit level basis of this dysfunction that can emerge during the critical period that affects the cognitive functions later in their life. And so I think that's probably like the immediate connection between the social interactions and the neuroscience in our field. But that's maybe you're probably talking about more general, like the literature or the things. But
no, I'm thankful to see the example you're bringing because it's very concrete. I think you are able to really show your passion for sciences in this more pure curiosity, but you're also showing how you can relate to another discipline and think about a specific case study. If I may, when you say that I have been working or learning how to get into the field of cognitive neurosciences, I won't hide, it's very hard. Naturally, I have been my entire life trained as a literary person. So I have been reading about the introduction to understanding the brain, and it's full of mysteries and it's beautiful, but it's almost a different world. And one thing I have been coming across are the challenges of translating my hypothesis into something possible to be executed at a lab.
Yeah.
And I was curious if you'd like to share something about your own difficulties throughout your career, the moments where you suffered perhaps some failures, how you also had to probably face many challenges. And one thing that also I have been hearing from professors is the time it takes to see a result. It requires a lot of patience. So do you have anything you'd like to share with us about the difficulties?
Most of the experiments fail, like more than 90%. So we are kind of resistant to the failure. So this is how at the beginning, when I was an undergrad and I started the experiments, it was very hard. The failure is like failure, and it was very disappointing. But it's still disappointing. But now I feel that it's normal. The failure is just
it's part of the process.
Part of the process. Yes. And after doing this and you find the real answer, and that's make it even more like
Yes, there is already all this history, and now when you finally go to the breakthrough, it is a big victory.
That's kind of addictive. So for example, we one discovery in my laboratory is that the discovery of the embryonic origin of adult neural stem cells. So in your brain, still, some cells, they produce neurons that contribute to the cognitive functions, but the scientists did not know, where it come from, where they come from, and we discovered the embryonic origin of these adult neural stem cells, and we had some hypotheses for a long time, and it took us like more than 10 years to prove it, and we finally found it. We are like really, we have chill in the back, and we are very excited, and that's
it's very special.
Yeah, very special. that happened because of the failures, the history of failures.
And how and using this example, do you have any suggestions of how do you inspire the new generation, the new students? As you said, failure can be very scary in the sense of there's a lot of pressure, expectations, you have to be patient. So how do you inspire curiosity? How do you inspire students to be strong and continue searching for their questions? Do you have any comments or tips that you give your students, for example?
Yeah, I'm the one who's been, constantly inspired by students. I'm not like, doing like, anything. They are the source of my inspiration and encouragement. I have to, I have to say that. But maybe that, like as you said, like I trying to convey my message that this failure is normal. It's everybody goes through this process, so you'll be okay. That's the only thing that I can say.
No, that's lovely, and I hope your students do watch this and see how your excitement is part of their own enthusiasm, inspiring you. So I think it is this beautiful one helping the other to grow together.
But it doesn't work, always.
No.
But of course, everybody, goes through the, ups and downs, and I have to watch them, but I try to encourage them, but it's very hard, because they have their, for them, I'm like, I'm far from them, I'm very old, and they seem at me as a professor, but I cannot say that it'll be okay. I would say I actually say it'll be okay, but I cannot guarantee what's going to happen for them. So it's a very hard process to have young people who are struggling.
Yes. In the sense, if I may even suggest the possibility of thinking about reading literature, because listening to you and the struggles that we see surrounding us, one motivation perhaps to read literature is that allows us to live other lives, allows us to change our perspective on the world.
That's true.
And by doing that consistently, because you have to maintain this rhythm of reading and learning, perhaps that also helps us become more confident about trying and accepting failure as part of the process of learning. And also to connect what you said previously about the importance of bringing the nations together instead of dividing. Once again, I think the act of reading literature may help us see the humanity within ourselves.
Yes, definitely.
And it is also not an easy process. That's why I'm doing this research to show that reading is like going to the gym. You have to exercise your muscles.
True.
You may have to exercise the brain in order to get the most out of what you're reading, out of what you're doing at the lab, and fulfilling our life potential.
Yeah, I really like the your about the struggle part.
Yes.
Yeah. I like the that you said about the confidence. Confidence. It's very tricky and very, very hard to have. But how to build that confidence is the key. For the young people.
Yes.
And I wish I had a clear answer for helping them to have the confidence, but. I've been struggling, to have the answer through my life.
I think there's no official answer, but I think the you as a mentor, as a model, can be one way of showing that the confidence of being okay with yourself and all the struggles. I think I'm going back to the beginning of this conversation about being humble with the questions we raise and how one also important keyword that I saw during the UT7's website is again the word joy, and how we can make this journey a joyful one in this process of discovering. Because as you mentioned, the breakthroughs that you and your team have been presenting are amazing, and I really admire how you are deciphering all this mystery that exists within us, and it's beautiful. And I think if everybody could just every day watch our own cells and say thank you, you're working, you're communicating somehow, and this is amazing. Unfortunately, we're coming to the end, and I just wanted to ask, do you have a concept of life? What is life? I know this is a very tricky question, but you inspired me to think about this. Because I have come across another concept. It's called LYFE. I don't know if you're familiar with. It's from a professor from Washington State. And this professor shows that life is a different category that is not the usual of what we consider to be alive. And he includes even the stars. The stars are alive.
Ah, I see.
So I was interested if you had any concept. What does it mean to be, what is life? We know that viruses are not really alive or not, but I was curious about if you do have a personal definition of what is life.
Yeah, I think that life is the one that can reproduce themselves. And if this is the definition, you're right. You know, the space or stars can be part of it.
Yes, I think it's also a good reminder of saying how much we can rewrite concepts or even rethink how we see the world. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Sensei, for a lovely conversation. It was a pleasure. Thank you for your time.
It was lovely.
Thank you very much.
You.
Thank you.